said I got this, none of this radio pop shit. I dropped this, turning back the clock to rock shit. I cop it, said knock knock, I'm on this. I'm hot bitch, like a hot bitch, it's top lit. I lock in, I got this, radio drop this. Hot shit, just watch this, I fucking promise. Too lit, do not miss your chance to cop this.
Hey everybody, and welcome to week number 2 of the new style of FGFL. The Aftershocks at the Orbits is game number 1 we have on highlight for you. And this one, there was a lot of big plays if you like big plays. Here's a nice big play from Jimmy Garoppolo to Marquise Goodwin down to the 17-yard line. On a 3rd and 3, the new pickup, Floyd would be able to get the first down, and then Garoppolo back to Marquise Goodwin for the touchdown, and the Aftershocks would take the 7-0 lead. Now, we get to see Tyler Wan, the FGFL legend, for the Orlando Orbits, and he's got a giant throw of his own downfield to Paul Richardson Jr. That would set the Orbits up with a field goal. So far, nice little back and forth game. Then Marquise Goodwin blowing away the defense on a 39-yard touchdown catch. It would be 14-3. The Orbits do nothing, and the Aftershocks get another little chance here with under 30 seconds, and Marquise Goodwin does it for a 3rd time. The Aftershocks take a 21-3 lead into halftime. And now the Orbits coming out of the half looking to make this a game. Tyler Wan throwing it over to Jordan Reed for the first down at the 32. Then Tyler Wan on a 1st and 10 going to get this one complete inside the 15. And then a nice throw to the back of the end zone to Jamison Crowder for the touchdown to get the Orbits within 11. They could still make a game of it if they could cover Marquise Goodwin. Unbelievable. Marquise Goodwin with his 4th touchdown of the game. His 5th touchdown of the season in 2 weeks. And now the Orbits desperate for some offense here with 5:41 to go, down 28-10. Throwing it up on 4th down and knocked away. The Aftershocks would get a field goal from it. Now they're down 21 points, and Quincy Enunwa decides he wants to make a play. Nice 48-yard touchdown for him, but that is how it would end. The Aftershocks would actually add another field goal onto it, so it would be 34-17. Running games weren't too much of a factor, even though Floyd played pretty well. But Marquise Goodwin, the story of the day, no doubt will be the offensive player of the week. He's got to be with that kind of huge game. Marquise Goodwin, have yourself a day, young man. Now we move on to the second game, which is the Redwoods visiting Columbus, Ohio to take on the Caps. Redwoods, one of the most hyped teams in FGFL right now. Can the Caps pull off the upset? Well, it looked good early as Dak Prescott, nice little throw. He started out the day 4 for 4. However, he hands off here to Kareem Hunt, and bang, the ball is loose, and the Redwoods would take over. Bobby Wagner on the recovery. So now Redwoods at the Caps 44 on a 1st and 10. Nice completion to Devin Funchess. That would set up a field goal. Later on, Redwoods with the ball again, and there's a nice completion to Zach Ertz. That gets them down to the 37, sets up their 2nd field goal of the day, making it 6-0. Then Chandler Tebow looking on a 1st and 10 here in the 2nd quarter. Nice sideline throw. That would be challenged by Columbus. They take another look at this one. I don't really know why you would challenge that catch, but he looked pretty into me, and the play would stand. So the Redwoods from the Cap 37. Here's Chandler Tebow. Nice little throw to Devin Funchess. He and Devin Funchess on the same page once again, and it is 9-0 Redwoods. Then a nice throw to Stephon Diggs near the end of the half. That sets up a Caps field goal. So 9-3, still anyone's game here late in the third. Prescott trying deep, and it is intercepted by Jaquiski Tart. Jaquiski Tart, big game for him, 5 tackles and a pick to that point. Now the Redwoods in the fourth quarter with just over 4 minutes to go. Chandler Tebow, nice throw there. That would set up another Redwood field goal. And the Caps just no luck here. Here's a 3rd and 8, overthrown. They're desperate enough to go for it on 4th down. And Prescott, I don't really know what that is. My niece can throw it further than that. So that is how this one would end. 12-3, a Redwood victory. Chandler Tebow with a decent quarterback rating. Dak Prescott did not play that well, even though he started off pretty hot. Madden only 7 runs for 22. I expected way more from him. And just not a lot of offense in this game. Not really much to talk about. The defenses were good. Both defenses were pretty good. But that's it. Let's take a look at some of the other games. Okay, checking out the rest of week number 2. Here's the Brooklyn Beats taking care of business against the Oakland Raiders. They were actually down at the half by a score of 16-13, but they shut out the Raiders in half number 2. Vasu Sharma, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Fox Trent with 65 yards and a touchdown. As far as receiving goes, Gavin Chesser with a touchdown today, as well as Nick Bacher. The rivalry continues. Defensively, Brett Johnston and Alex Pinioso with sacks. Ethan Long with an interception. And a forced fumble and recovery for John Quayside. The Chicago Blues able to take a 10-point win against the Houston Oilers. That third quarter really got it done for Chicago in a tight matchup. Russell Wilson, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Blake Bortles not nearly as great as he was in the watched game a week ago. 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Joe Mixon ran for 80 yards. Bryson Mitchell only 32 for him. On the receiving end, Cam Meredith with 76, DeAndre Harrison with 70 and a score, Traquan Smith with 60 and a score, Calvin Ridley 45 and a score, Waddle with a receiving touchdown, as well as Chris Godwin. For the defenses, B.J. Goodson, Fletcher Cox, and Dalvin Tomlinson all with sacks. Trey Boston and Kyler Fackrell will combine for 1, as well as Alex Okafor and Calais Campbell. Interceptions, Malcolm Jenkins, Sua Cravens, and Janoris Jenkins. A lot of Jenkins going on with interceptions. Forced fumble, Malcolm Jenkins, Levante David, and Patrick Robinson, all forced fumbles. Nobody was able to recover any of them. The Lumberjacks could not handle the Tennessee Titans from the other league. A 28-7 deficit, and they just were not able to overcome it. Marcus Mariota was huge. Josh Rosen, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. David Johnson had 95 rushing yards. Just wasn't enough to propel this team. Antonio Brown scored. Defensively, Perryman with 1 sack. An interception for Buda Baker. And that's it. The Memphis Hounds do take care of the Baltimore Ravens with a 28-3 halftime lead. It's pretty dangerous, and it did get close at the end, but the Hounds do end up pulling the victory out. Matthew Goodman, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Jordan Howard with 83 yards. Mark Ingram scored a touchdown on short yardage. Taylor Gabriel played pretty well. Trey Burton had 2 scores for the Hounds in the receiving game. Sack-wise, Roman Hanspard gets in there. DJ Terry gets in there. Roquan Smith with a pick, as well as Pat Pete Nothing in the fumble department. The OKC Nighthawks able to take care of the Pittsburgh Steelers. After a 14-7 halftime lead, they hung on for dear life in the second half. Cam Newton, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Looking way different than his original game as well. Reggie Casper ran for 65. 2 touchdowns for Choik Avery, or Chioke, or Choke. I don't know how you want to say his name, but he had 2 scores. Nothing in the sack department. Jair Alexander was able to get 2 interceptions in this game, though. The London Black Knights jump out to a 28-7 lead and hang on for dear life in the fourth quarter to win this one 28-21. Jameis Winston, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Brody Johnson, 1 touchdown, 1 interception for him. Saquon Barkley ran for 89, and the rookie Heddleston got himself a touchdown. Poaching touchdowns from Saquon, but Saquon would be the leading receiver in this game with 99 and a score. Mike Evans had a score as well. Jordan Wilcox with a score as well. Defensively, a lot of guys with some sacks there on both teams, to be honest. Corey Moore with an interception. And Quan Alexander with a forced fumble that no one recovered. The San Antonio Express come away with a win against the Austin Bats. The Bats have been playing really well, knocking off the London Black Knights last week. And they had a 21-6 lead at halftime in this game. They just were not able to hang on to it. Aaron Rodgers came alive, particularly in that second half. 362 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. Matthew Stafford had 264 and 2 scores. Rashad Penny had 50, Devonta Freeman 44, Javonte Spearman 38, and Dion Lewis poached a touchdown away from either Penny or Spearman, doesn't really matter. But Freeman had 44 over there. He also had 74 in the receiving game. J.J. Nelson with 134 and a score. Doug Baldwin 110 and a score. Scores for Tyreek Hill and DJ Lindsey living up to that legend status. On the defense, 2 sacks for JPP, 1.5 for Deion Jones. Shaq Thompson had a sack and an interception in this game. And as far as forced fumbles are concerned, there was a fumble forced and recovered by Keanu O'Neal, and then one forced by Vic Beasley that no one was able to jump on. The Salt Lake City Flyers had a 21-10 halftime lead, but they were shut out in the second half to lose this game to the Jaguars 24-21. Teddy Bridgewater 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Chris Carson 76 and a score. Latavius Murray had a score in this one. TSJ second in receiving, and he had a score. Devin Banks also had a score in this game for the Flyers. Doesn't look like a very good game for the Jaguars, but somehow they were able to pull this one off. Interceptions by TJ Green and Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey's was a pick 6. I suspected that they had a defensive score here, and then a forced fumble by Miles Jack, recovered by no one. And finally, the Dublin Antlers, able to come away with a win against the Toronto Mounties. A 7-point game. Dublin held a 24-10 halftime lead and had to hang on to this one. But hashtag get horny, because the Antlers got it done here. Carson Wentz 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Jared Goff 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Zeke Elliott with 106 yards and a touchdown. Le'Veon Bell had 104 in the game. Dallas Goedert, 102 yards and a touchdown. 173-yard touchdown for Zeke Elliott, so he had a ton of all-purpose yards today. Michael Gallup had a score. Nelson Aguilar had a score. Noah Richburg had a score. And Taron Lallee had a score. Sack-wise, just 2, and it was all David Irving. Interceptions by Jalen Smith and Nickel Roby Coleman Nickel Roby-Coleman showing out, and he was gotten in that trade by the Antlers. Players of the week for week number 2, Marquise Goodwin of the Aftershocks with 6 catches for 234 and 4 touchdowns. Jair Alexander, your defensive player of the week, with 6 tackles and 2 interceptions. Okay, another look at the injury report for this week. And I'm not seeing anybody hurt. Bengals, nobody cares. The London Black Knights lose Ali Marpet for 8 weeks. That is not good. That is not good for them. The Express are going to lose Alan Burns at wide receiver for 7 weeks. Doesn't seem like too much of a herder. The Lumberjacks lose Zach Brown for 1 week. The Oilers will lose Miles Killebrew for 2 weeks. And that's all we have. Okay, quick look at what the waiver pickups are looking like. If anyone is still looking to make some moves in that department, there are some decently young players out here. Austin Prohl, he's a little old now though, for his overall. And again, if you guys actually own any of these players on these practice squads, you can call them up and release someone else to play the guy who is on your practice squad. Though I'm thinking of an exciting rule change for next season, I am not going to invoke that this year, but we'll see what happens. I'm thinking of letting practice squad stealing happen on waivers for the teams that are in the other conference, the other league. Because I don't think that would hurt much. I kind of want you guys to beat those teams, but we'll see what happens. Because no team in that side matters outside the beats. But it's a change I'm thinking about. You guys can let me know in the comments section below if you guys would agree with something like that. I'm sure you guys probably would, only because it would benefit you guys and you'd be able to steal some rookies. But then again, do you want the guy with the number 1 waiver to be stealing all the rookies every year? We might have to invoke something different where, you know, the order goes backwards the second time. You know what I mean? Kind of like a snake waiver order. That would, though, involve more work for me, just because I would have to switch teams so many times and do the waiver claims, sign the people onto the teams. But we'll see. It's a change that might be beneficial. That is your waivers for the week. Alright, let's take a look at what the waiver order would be. Okay, first on the waiver list would be the Orbits, then the Golden Eagles, then the Caps, then the Lumberjacks, then the Mounties, who are all 0-2. Then we have the Hounds, Nighthawks, Black Knights, Bats, Oilers, Aftershocks, and Flyers, who are all 1-1. And then we have the Antlers, Redwoods, Blues, and Express, who are all 2-0. Okay, we'll take a quick look through our league, see how the divisions are looking. I don't want to do it that way. Blues are leading the North at 2-0 with the Nighthawks and Hounds right behind them. And the Caps being the bottom feeders, having only scored 17 points this season. In the South, we have the Express at 2-0. We have the Oilers at 1-1, the Bats at 1-1, and the Golden Eagles at 0-2. The Antlers are 2-0, having scored 78 points. 1-1 for the Black Knights, 0-2 for the Mounties and the Orbits. Orbits have only scored 27 points this season. And finally in the West, the Redwoods looking good at 2-0. Flyers have scored more points, but they're only 1-1. Even more points scored by the Aftershocks, but their defense has given up some points as well. They're 1-1. And then 0-2 with the Lumberjacks, who've only scored 31, and they've given up 72. Look ahead to week 3 on our schedule. The Beats will be playing the Steelers. We got the Black Knights going up against the Mounties. Could be a big game to decide who, is going to sit in third place maybe. Who knows? The Oilers are going to take on the Bats, the Golden Eagles, and the Express. The Nighthawks at the Hounds. The Caps at the Aftershocks. The Redwoods at the Blues. That is a nice game. The Flyers at the Lumberjacks on a Sunday night. And on Thursday Night Football, the Antlers at the Orbits. So, you guys can put up the vote. Who do you think we should watch? Thank you guys for watching this video so very much. I really do appreciate it. I will see you guys for week number 3 of the FGFL soon.